Hello, and welcome to part 9 in our study on how science proves intelligent design. In our last lesson, we were looking at 8 reasons why people believe in evolution. I gave you the first 3. Let's pick up right away with number 4 here. Reason number 4, why some people believe in evolution. And it comes down to this very simply. They refuse to believe in God. Whether we're talking about scientists, whether we're talking about atheists. There are people out there that just simply refuse to believe in God. And for those that refuse to believe in a creator, the only option they're left with is evolution. It's really the only 2 choices that I know of. We either evolved, we either came from nothing and just evolved over eons, over billions of years, or there was an intelligent designer. I don't know of a third choice. So if you're ruling out intelligent design, you're ruling out God, you're left with evolution. And they generally make no pretense, some of these people, about specifically believing in evolution. It's just their stronger emphasis is I don't believe in God. I don't believe that there's a supreme being. I don't believe that there can be someone all that powerful. I don't believe that there's someone here who made us and put all of this together. So what am I left with? I'm left with evolution. Henry Fairfield Osborn, one of the most famous evolutionists of the early 20th century, listen to what he said, quote, "In truth, from the earliest stages of Greek thought, man has been eager to discover some natural cause of evolution and to abandon the idea of supernatural intervention in the order of nature." End quote. Man does not want to believe in God. So he's looking for some natural way that we're here. Henry Morris, quote, "Evolution is the natural way to explain the origin of things for those who do not know and acknowledge the true God of creation. In fact, some kind of evolution is absolutely necessary for those who would reject God." That's what I just said. If there's no God, then how did we get here? What am I left with? We are here. I stated that in the beginning. We can't argue about that. We're here, so how did we get here? If it's not intelligent design in the creator, well, we must have just somehow, inexplicably, we can't explain it, we can't prove it, we're here, we just must have evolved. That's what they're left with. Sir Arthur Keith of Great Britain wrote, "Evolution is unproved and unprovable. We believe it." Here's a man writing that he's not condemning evolution, he believes in it. Let me repeat. "Evolution is unproved and unprovable. We believe it because the only alternative is special creation, and that is unthinkable." See, here's people that saying the only alternative we got is God, and nah, that's not acceptable. Professor D. Watson, he held the position of the chair of evolution at the University of London for over 20 years. Quote, "Evolution itself is accepted by zoologists not because it has been observed to occur or can be proven by logically coherent evidence to be true, but because the only alternative, special creation, is incredible." So they're saying we're accepting evolution. These are evolutionists and big guys in their field. Not the guy down at the corner that you ran into that's buying a loaf of bread. These are big guys in their field, and they're saying basically we've accepted this because what's the alternative? And the alternative is not acceptable to us, so therefore we have to buy into evolution. So we're believing it not because of the evidence, but because they've already made up their minds that there is no God, and because they do not want to believe in God. United Nations scientist A.E. Wilbur Smith writes this, quote, "Darwinism and neo-Darwinism, rightly or wrongly, have been used everywhere in the East and West, in the hands of atheists and agnostics as the main weapon against the biblical doctrine of origins." There it is. There it is. The atheists, the agnostics, those who refuse to believe in God, they're using it as the weapon to justify their beliefs and to cause other people not to believe in God. So for those who stubbornly refuse to believe in God, belief in evolution becomes automatic because there's no other alternative. When a person rids himself of God, what is he left with? He's left with evolution. Let's move on. Reason number 5. Some people believe in evolution, and let's reverse it first. Some people do not believe in God and therefore believe in evolution because in their mind there's too much evil, there's too much suffering, there's too much pain in the world. Their thought is, how can a loving, omnipresent, a God who's everywhere, an omnipotent God, a God who is all-powerful, a God who is loving, and a God who is merciful, how can he allow these bad things to happen to good people? And oftentimes it seems like bad things happen to good people. And to some, no matter what explanation that the creationists or those that believe in God would give, it's just not acceptable because they can't rationalize it in their mind. They can't put the two together. Regardless of how elaborately the position is defended of here's why bad things happen to good people, some just will not wrap themselves around it. But in their mind, evolution explains it all. Evolution gives an acceptable, or maybe a better word, at least a rational understanding of what is going on. Because what is evolution? If you take evolution and really break it down, but do it generally, according to evolution, it's the survival of the fittest. That's how Darwin defined it. It's the survival of the fittest. It's dog eat dog. It's the stronger overpowers the weaker. It's how you keep the races pure. It's how you make the strongest be out there. The weak need to die off and the weak need to go. There's a number of people through, Hitler's a great example of this mindset of we have to make the master race, and the weaker, the inferior, we just eliminate him, you get rid of him. Now, I don't think evolution all the time goes to that extreme, but the whole idea out there is that, you look at the animal kingdom, which has always looked at signs of evolution. Well, the survival of the fittest. They go out there and, this one overpowers this one, and we're going to mate, and when it's, mating time, the two get together, and who's going to mate? Well, boom, 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 we got to fight, we got to tear each other apart, and this and that. It's all part. I'm going to beat you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to eat you, this kind of thing. It's all part of the survival of the fittest, and that's what makes all of these things happen, and so evolution kind of makes sense. And you take all of this that happens in the animal kingdom, well, guess what? According to evolution, we're part of the animal kingdom. So why should it be any different with man? Why should man have any different privileges, or it becomes the survival of the fittest with man? In a world where evolution is considered to be true, it should be no surprise that there's evil, or that there's pain, or that there's suffering. But then you move yourself back and say, well, if God is God, and God is merciful, and God is loving, it's like now recently in these days you hear of all of these school shootings going on. And then it's beginning to be mocked now by some people. You hear it in the news and people talking about these things that people say our thoughts and prayers are with you. And it's almost a snickering about that comment of it. Yeah, our thoughts and prayers. What are your prayers doing? If your prayers were of any kind of value, God wouldn't have let this happen. Why don't you pray that God doesn't let it happen instead of keep praying afterwards? You know what? It's a legitimate question. I don't fight the question. I don't resist the question. I do resist the attitude that it's said with, because it's said with disdain. But you know what? People don't understand. They don't understand the scriptures. They don't, and I can't do it here because this is a study in itself. And Lord willing, it might be my next study. It's kind of what is getting on my heart a bit more, especially looking at these shootings and things that are going on, is I don't want to use the title, why do bad things happen to good people? But why is there evil in this world? Where is God when these things happen? Why does God allow these things to happen? I think unless the Lord changes my mind, that's what I'm going to work on next, because you know what? There are answers. We can't do it here with this part of the study, but there are answers. And it's because people don't understand those answers. They don't understand the big picture. All they see is they have this tunnel vision, and they see here's good people and bad things are happening, and God has the power to stop it. So why isn't he stopping it? Why is he letting it to happen? Why is he letting it happen if he's so loving and he's so gracious? So, Lord willing, I'll put this series together, but the answers are in the Word of God. There is an answer there. So I'm saying it right here for this point. It's not, this thought of why do these things happen is not a valid reason. Why does God let these things happen? It's not a valid reason to dismiss that God exists and to move over to evolution. Because there are, if you understand the complete picture, if you see the complete picture, there are answers. You may not like them, you may not accept them, but the point is there are answers. You don't have to automatically grab on to evolution. Number six, why some people don't believe in God and believe in evolution. The poor testimony of some, I don't want to say of some Christians, I want to say of some religious groups. Maybe the better way to put this, I struggled with this title, and I think a better one's coming right now. The poor testimony of some people who profess to believe in God, who profess to believe in the deity, because that really expands it. When you look at the Islamic terrorism that's going on, these people say that they do these things in the name of Allah. So you get past Christianity. And you go into and people look at this and say, what, you're doing this in the name of your God, and you're killing children and babies and this and that, and you're slaughtering people, and you're even out there killing Christians and anybody who doesn't believe exactly like you believe, you're going to go out there and you're going to kill them. What kind of a God is that? What kind of, all this stuff is just this, believing in God becomes nothing but an excuse for you to do the stupid things that you're doing. And you can look at different people, and you go back through history. We're going to offer young virgins to this imaginary deity, or we're going to take people that in the days of quote Christianity, which I wouldn't call it Christianity at all, not true biblical Christianity, but we've now decided you're a witch, and we're going to burn you at the stake. All of these things, and you look at these kind of stupid pagan things, or like I said already, killing people in the name of God. How many times, you see this, if somebody goes out there and here's a massacre or this or that, and it's God told me to do this. I heard these voices. Well, let me tell you, you may have heard voices, but it isn't the voice of God. God's not telling you to go out there and massacre these people. And you get to the more respected or recognized beliefs, a lot of I'm no fan of the average televangelist, not all of them, but the average one. And you see, here's an adulterous affairs going on, this one's running around with this one, that one's this one, all of this, name it and claim it and send your money to me. How it's obvious to most of the unchristian people that these televangelists that are going, send me your money, send me your money, send me your money, that they're nothing but con artists and rip-off. And it's true, they are. But they look at this and they go, what does God let this go on for? Why does God allow this to happen? Or this is what God is, this is what religion is. Or they show you these people that are hooping around and falling down to the floor and shaking and wagging and doing all kinds of stupid, idiotic stuff. I mean, there are some phenomenally stupid, idiotic things that are happening in the name of Christianity. Who's getting slain and who's falling and who's doing this and who's punching who and who's this and who's falling on the floor with some kind of laughter for the last thing and jerking and shaking around and stuff. And I'm a Christian and I understand what's going on. I understand why this is happening. I understand how wrong this is and how deceptive it is. But I look at that and say, are you kidding me? If I wasn't a Christian, if I didn't, I'd be looking at this and going, what, I'm supposed to join these kind of nitwit people? I mean, they're a bunch of meatballs. What in the world's going on here? This is crazy. This is ridiculous. And it's all in the name of Jesus. The devil's no fool. He knows how to make true Christianity appear to be false. And these people, that's not true Christianity. Maybe I phrased that a little inaccurately. He knows how to make, quote, Christianity look so stupid that you wouldn't believe the true Christianity. That's what I wanted to say. And that's what's there. But see, we need to understand that. The church needs to get that kind of message out. Because when other people look at this and they see this, they go, God? There's a God? I mean, there's really a God out there who's all-powerful and he's letting this nonsense go on? There are answers. But if you don't really look for those answers or you're not willing to accept it, then you're really willing to say there is no God. And if you say there is no God, what are you left with? You're left with evolution. They just don't understand the complete picture of that there really is a Satan. There really is a devil. Guess what? There really are evil people in the world. There is evil people. And for right now, they're allowed to exist. Will that change? Absolutely. But you have to know that. There are sinners. And just because these things exist, that doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. We need to understand what God is doing and why he is doing it. Let's move on, or I won't finish up this, and I want to make sure I get done with these in this lesson. Number 7. And I think that this is one of the bigger ones. I think that this is one of the bigger reasons of why people, again, when I'm saying believe in evolution, it's handing more over to why they do not believe in God. Why they don't want to believe. They don't believe in intelligent design, because if there's intelligent design, there's an intelligent designer. If there's an intelligent designer, that equals God. And so number 7, they do not want to be accountable to God. They do not want to be accountable. And I think that motivates a lot of people. People will reject God and reject creation because if they admit that there's a God, then there's always that thought that, you know what, I'm accountable to that God. I may have to answer to this God. There may be a moral standard that this God has set up, and I may be subject to that moral standard. If I reject this God, then I can have my own moral standard. Everything becomes subjective. I can do what now is right in my own eyes. I can justify my own behavior, no matter how absurd it might be, no matter how perverse it might be, it can become acceptable. Where society can develop this idea of do your own thing, which is what we have today. Who are you to tell me that what I'm doing is wrong? You have you and I have me, and even that even infiltrated into the church where you have your truth and I have my truth. All truth is relevant. And so they can live the way that they want to live. There's no one to tell them what is right and what is wrong. And that also alleviates any type of guilt that might come about because of their actions, because I'm justifying myself. So there's no moral standard that I have to live by. And you know, we see a lot of that today. We ask, what in the world's going on? How is it that these kids can go into these schools and pull out guns and weapons and just start mowing down people? I mean, the bigger question is there, you know, you get into the gun control and this and that and take the guns away. Let me tell you something. And I don't say this part to be flippant or light, but the gun doesn't just go off by itself. There's someone bringing that gun there, loading it, and pulling the trigger. What is going on in their head that makes them pull that trigger and mow down all of these people? What are they thinking? That's the bigger question, and that's really the answer, the thing that you got to go after. Of what? Because whenever you, and I'm not getting into gun control or any of that, I'm not talking about that. But you go back in the day when they made drinking illegal. Did it stop drinking? Absolutely not. It just made a way for the mafia and the thieves to come in and bring the stuff in illegally, and people were still drinking. It's what's motivating you to do this. It's that desire that you have to do something. What puts that in you that you can go and point this thing and just mow people down? What is going on? And we're not going to answer it here, But if people just start to justify themselves and they're not killing these people and saying, you know what? If I turn around and put this gun to my own head, or somebody comes in here and shoots me, well, 5 seconds later, I'm going to be standing in front of my Creator. I'm going to be standing in front of the Supreme Being. I'm going to be standing in front of the person who made me and who has a moral standard, and I'm going to have to answer to him. It doesn't seem like that thought is there. It's not there because we can start to justify our own things. And maybe that's a heavier-ended look at it, but people just want to live their own lives. They want to just fool around in their marriage. They want to live together. They don't want to get married. They don't want to this. They want to have open marriages. You can go with who you want. You can go with what I want. You can get down to abortion. You know, I now have a baby inside of me. And guess what? It's an inconvenience. I don't want the baby. So we just go and we snuff out the life. Because there's nobody I have to answer to. Society now, because they've made it legal, is I don't have any pressure coming on me from society to say, oh, this is wrong. I can just do what I want to do, and I can live the way that I want to live, and I'm not going to have to stand in front of any being of saying, why did you kill my creation? I put that baby in that womb, and you snuffed it out. I gave you a gift of that, and you snuffed. Oh, no, we don't think about that. See, because we don't want to be accountable. We want to be able to do what we want to do. And that's why some people reject intelligent design, because in reality they're rejecting God because they want to live their own life by their own rules and do their own thing. Aldous Huxley, well-known atheist, stated the matter very succinctly. Let me read to you what he said. Quote, I had motives for not wanting the world to have meaning. Consequently, I assume it had none, and was able without any difficulty to find reasons for this assumption. The philosopher who finds no meaning in the world is concerned to prove there is no valid reason why he personally should not do whatever he wants to do. For myself, as no doubt for most of my contemporaries, the philosophy of meaninglessness was essentially an instrument of liberation. See, it's evolution. There's no God. Everything is meaningless. We're born, we live, and we die. But he says, for me to have this philosophy, it was an instrument of liberation. The liberation we desired was simultaneously liberation from a certain political and economic system, and liberation from a certain system of morality. We objected to the morality because it interfered with our sexual freedom. End of quote. We wanted our freedom. We didn't want anybody telling us what to do, so we just put in our minds, it's all meaningless. There is no creator. There is no God. When we die, we go into nothingness where we came from. We came from nothing. We go back to nothing. So just eat, drink, and be merry. For tomorrow we die. That's what Paul said. The Apostle Paul said, if there is no resurrection from the dead, if you're not going to stand in front of God, then we might as well eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow we die. That's it summed up in one verse. And that's where these people are at. So they took the belief system that they had because they didn't want it to interfere with their freedom. And once you deny the existence of God, we said this before, the only thing that's left is evolution, because we are here. Let me give you the last one, number 8. Number 8. Some are convinced, I don't have a percentage of this, I don't know, but at least want to leave the door open for this possibility. Some are convinced that evolution is true because they've looked at it, they've listened to the arguments, and based on the arguments that are given, they just conclude that this is right. They maybe don't have any material motives that they're aware of. I think you have to intentionally want to go this way and not believe in God because of what God has put in us. I believe that within us, every one of us, there's knowledge of a supreme being. So there's got to be an intentional pushing it down. But they may not feel that I'm doing this because I want to be intellectually correct, or because of peer pressure, or because of, I want to fit into a certain group. They may just simply say, I think the evidence favors evolution. I don't know how they could think that. If you really get into it and look at it and what's been proven, and if you really get in to look at the things like I've presented in this series and the monumental things that could be studied, I think I think maybe they just put a surface little look on everything and go, it doesn't sound all that unreasonable to me. I think if they really got in and studied both sides, that there's no way that they would believe in evolution. But I just want to allow that there's some people that maybe just don't have any conscious ulterior motives, that they sincerely believe what they believe. So they may be very sincere, but they're sincerely wrong. Absolutely. And God says that. God says the fool that says, the person who says there is no God is a fool. So they're being very, very foolish. But there you have your 8 reasons. There may be more. I think this helps just put a little bit of things into perspective, though, of why some people, each one of them being wrong, but can put themselves in that category of saying, I do not want to believe in God. Whether it's just simply the evolutionist, or it's the atheist, the agnostic, and the evolutionist. There are some people that say, I believe in evolution, and I also believe in God. I don't know how you put that together. You certainly can't put it together from Scripture. But you've got all 3 categories that are right there. So we have one more lesson to go. In that lesson, I kind of want to sum everything up and give some concluding thoughts. Thank you for watching, and may the Lord bless you.